After you get your land under contract, now is when I want you to come up with a set of drawings, your house plans. So let's go ahead and get into this section on your plans and specifications. I want you to go to 24/7 and see what we call certain plans. For example, what is a 1-story, a 2-story, a split foyer, a split level. And you'll see examples of what's like contemporary or traditional. And you can see this at 24/7 just to see some of the house styles. Now, I know what we may call a Cape Cod in Atlanta. You know, someone up in New England may say that's not a true Cape Cod. And I've noticed also that architects, they're very specific about what they call certain style homes. And there are books available that show you what architects consider, you know, a craftsman or a Cape Cod or a traditional or a contemporary. And you can see some of those books. Regarding locating house plans, if you can find plans out of a magazine or catalog or off the internet, that is the cheapest way to go by far. And at the 24/7, we're going to recommend catalogs. We're going to recommend websites that I like to go to see all kind of different plans. And that is going to be the cheapest way to go. But I will tell you, I've never seen a set of drawings out of a magazine or a catalog that I didn't want to tweak a little bit and make some changes to it. So what you may want to do is whoever you're buying the drawings from, ask them what they would charge to make, you know, let's say minor changes to the drawings. And hopefully they would be willing to do it for a nominal fee. But I will tell you, some of these companies, these plan services, not only are their plans pretty expensive, even out of a catalog, but if you want to go in and make changes to their plans, they can charge you quite a bit of money. So for that reason, I deal with a lot of draftsman designers on doing drawings. Now, a good draftsman designer can, if you have a good idea of what you want, a good draftsman designer can take those ideas and put it together and give you a set of working drawings that you can use to build a home. Again, at 24/7, we're going to be recommending some draftsman designers that you could utilize. And I have found if I pretty much know what I want and the home is not too complicated, the draftsman designer can give me what I want for about the same cost I would spend getting the drawings through a magazine or a catalog or over the internet. And a good draftsman designer, I can get some of these people to do these drawings for as little as 50 cents a square foot. And that is quite a good deal. However, if you want the home of your dreams, if you want a home designed for a specific lot, then you cannot undersell the qualifications of a good architect, because a good architect has gone to school a long time to learn how to do that, and they can really give you that original work of art. The problem with most architects is they are very, very expensive. However, I know some architects that will do drawings for me for as little as $1.25 a square foot. And that's pretty cheap when you go look into the world of professional architects. I also want you to know, in residential construction, you normally do not have to have an architectural stamp on a set of residential drawings. In most areas, you could build a single-family home, you could build a duplex, you could build a triplex without an architectural stamp on those drawings. However, if you get into multifamily or you get into commercial, in most areas, you would be required then to have an architectural stamp and or a professional engineer stamp on those drawings. Another thing I like about dealing with the draftsman, designer, and or the architect is that they can now give you your drawings on what we call a PDF file. And they can email you this PDF file, and you can take that PDF file and you can make as many copies of the drawings as you like. And PDF stands for Portable Document Format. And I really like that because when you order plans out of a magazine or catalog, they charge you for however many sets you're going to order. Now, the more you order, the cheaper they are. But I sure like having that PDF file so I can just copy as many sets as I desire. One other thing I want to mention about the architect is I think one of my successes in the homes I built is I've always really looked for that artistic person. Some of your draftsman designers are very good artists, but a lot of them are not. Most architects, because they've had to take art courses and develop that side of their brain, most of them have a pretty nice artistic ability. And so because I think that artistic touch on a home just is something I can't put my finger on, but when you see homes in a given area and you know there's a home you may drive past and you just don't know what it is, but you just love that home. That's usually how an architect can do something. They just will just do little things that you don't really know what to put your finger on, but it just makes the home so much aesthetically nicer. So what I'll do is many times I will hire a draftsman designer to do the drawings. And then I will hire an architect and they charge me so much per hour. And I will have them review what I call the front elevation. You'll find out what the front elevation is later. And what they'll do is they'll take the front elevation, and it's quite amazing. They may move a door just a few inches. They may make the windows a little larger or a little smaller. They'll add little architectural details or change something on the roof. And, you know, it's just, I cannot explain it, but it makes all the difference in the world. And I will pay them what I consider a nominal fee, their hourly rate, just to review the front elevation only and make those little subtle changes. And it makes such a big difference in the aesthetic beauties of the home. So I would encourage you to consider that. When you order plans out of a magazine or catalog, or if you order them off the internet, or if you hire a draftsman or an architect, here's what you should receive with your plans. And if you don't know, just ask and see if you are going to get this. First of all, you want a foundation plan. Now, on the foundation plan, if you are going to have a concrete floor, a slab, it needs to be drawn as a slab. If you are going to have a crawl space, it needs to be drawn as a crawl space. If you're going to have a basement, it needs to be drawn as a basement. So make sure they are going to show this on the foundation plan. A couple of things on the foundation plan, and you'll see more of this when we actually construct the home. You'll see pictures of this at 24/7. On the foundation plan, where you have any porches and stoops, if you're going to build these out of brick or block or something like this, when we push dirt back against the home, and we build those porches and or steps on top of this fill dirt, over time, the ground would settle and these porches and or steps would pull away from the home. And it looks terrible. It can be repaired. It could be a costly repair. But what we do now is where we have these masonry porches and or steps, we will build what are called T-walls or brackets in this area. Again, you'll see pictures at 24/7. And on these T-walls and or brackets, we'll push the dirt back against these. On top of them, we will build a reinforced concrete slab. And on top of that concrete slab or pad, we will build the front porch and or steps. Now when the ground settles, it will support the porch and or steps, and it will not pull away from the home. Make sure you have these T-walls and or brackets drawn on the foundation plan as to where they are located. On the foundation plan, it's going to show the layout of your basement if you are going to have a full basement. And one thing I want to mention on the basement is we used to just put up large beams, and those large beams, and you can see what I mean by beam at 24/7, and on top of those beams, we would put the floor system for the first floor. And we would support those beams normally with a steel post. Sometimes we would have a concrete pier, but normally it would be with a steel post. Now, the smaller the beam is, the more post is going to be required. As the beam increases in size, you will have less and less post. You could go over to a steel beam we call an I-beam and even have a smaller number of posts. If the beam were large enough, it could cover the entire basement area and you would have no post. It'd be open like a big roller skating rink. However, a beam that large would cost you quite a bit of money, and most people are not willing to spend that much money. So the beam, the size of the beam, is kind of a function of how much money you're willing to spend and how many posts you're willing to live with. One thing we started doing is we started laying out the basement area, even if we didn't plan to finish off the basement, which we normally would never do. We would lay out the basement area and we would go ahead and designate where would be a game room or a family room or a utility room, future bedrooms, bathrooms, and we would lay these areas out. And what we would do is we would build out these areas, we would frame the walls, and these walls would now become load-bearing walls. And on top of these load-bearing walls, we would put the floor system, normally floor joist or floor trusses. By laying out the basement area and turning these walls into load-bearing walls, it became a great selling point when we sold the home because the customer would get down there and they would see all these walls framed up in the basement and they would think, well, gosh, Martha, for a couple of trips to Home Depot, we can have all this space finished out. Well, it's going to take more than a few bucks and a couple of trips to Home Depot to finish all that out. But the customer, they just see all this, what they think is finished space. So it's a great selling tool. But the other good part about it is many times we can build these load-bearing walls cheaper than we can buy these beams and these posts to support the beam. So we save money, or it doesn't cost us any more money. We have all these walls in place, and it's a great selling tool to sell to the customer. And I would suggest you go ahead and at this point, go ahead and lay out the basement area the way you would like it. Now, you're going to learn things later in the program about where you should have a mechanical room for the heating and air system and such as this that I want you to hear before you do these final drawings. The next thing you're going to need is a floor plan. And this floor plan is going to show the dimensions of your rooms. It's going to show the size and location of your doors and windows. It's going to show the size and location of your cabinets. It's going to show where all your tubs, toilets, and lavatories are located. So yes, you want a floor plan. Now, just a couple of things on the floor plan I want to mention is in a hallway, for example. Let's say the normal hallway is 36 inches wide. But let's say at the end of the hallway, you've got a 36-inch wide door. Well, if you put a 36-inch wide door at the end of the hallway, there is not enough room to put any molding, what we call door casing, around that door, or it could be an opening. So you need to be conscious of the width of your hallways to make sure any doors you have in that hallway that you have adequate room for the molding around the door we call door casing. Because in some homes, especially larger, more luxury homes, the people like a real wide door casing. Well, if you have a, let's say a 2'6" door, which is 30 inches wide, and you have a 4-inch casing on either side of that door, that's 8 inches. That's 38 inches you need in the clear in the hallway to accommodate that door and that molding. So make sure your hallways will accommodate what you want. Also, if you have a gas furnace, normally the gas furnace will go into a crawl space or into a basement. Most gas furnaces will have a pipe that will come up through the floor, go out the ceiling, out the roof to vent off fumes. We simply call it a vent pipe. You need to draw the location of this vent pipe on the floor plan. And this will solve that age-old problem of you're building a home, you have it all framed up, the heating and air sub comes on the job and looks at you and says, well, where do you want us to put that vent pipe? And you think, what vent pipe? And now you've got to use up part of a kitchen cabinet or a coat closet or a closet in the master bedroom, or you're going to have a bump out in a wall in the living room that's going to create a problem with your furniture and it just doesn't look right. So go ahead and determine where you're going to build the vent pipe or install the vent pipe so it's not going to be a problem for you later. Another thing I want to mention is that on your plumbing, primarily behind any sink, you're going to have a pipe that could be as much as 4 inches in diameter. Now, if you build a wall out of 2x4s, that wall is going to be only 3.5 inches thick. If you put almost a 4-inch pipe in a 3.5-inch wall, you are going to severely weaken that wall. So what I want you to do, primarily behind a kitchen sink, a bathroom lavatory, I want you to build what is called a plumbing wall. And if nothing else, and you'll see samples of this at 24/7, if nothing else, at least that wall right there only, you use 2x6 studs. 2x6 studs, which are 5.5 inches thick. And that will give you adequate room to core out for that pipe without weakening the wall so much. So have these 2x6 plumbing walls behind a kitchen sink, behind a bathroom lavatory. And that needs to be drawn on the drawings. Everywhere else, you can have 2x4 walls if that's what you desire. I would like to mention, when I'm talking about 2x4 studs and 2x6 studs, if you've got the money, it is just so nice to build all your walls out of 2x6 studs. It just creates such a great structure. It gives you the wide door jambs and window jambs. It just looks so much nicer on your exterior walls. It gives you more room for insulation. So my preference would be, first of all your plumbing walls be 2x6 studs. If you have the money, all your exterior walls are 2x6 studs. And if you really got the money to go the extra mile, that every wall in the home be 2x6 studs. It just makes everything so nice. And yes, you will spend more, but it may not be as much as you may think. So I just want to give you that food for thought. Another thing you're going to need to show on the floor plan are the location of any attic stairs, your pull-down attic stairs. If you don't show this is always a hassle during construction, determining where you're going to put those pull-down attic stairs where they're not an eyesore to you. And on the pull-down attic stairs, you got to be conscious of that you have enough room in order to unfold the stairs. I remember I had a house one time where we did not have it on the drawing where the attic stairs would be located, and we wound up with this little area in the hallway, and I thought, man, this would be great for the pull-down attic stairs, and it won't be obvious to everybody. And we actually built the opening there for the pull-down attic stairs, and when we installed the pull-down attic stairs, there was room for it, but when we tried to open it, there was not enough room to unfold the steps. What a mess. And what I had to do was wind up and buy a set of stairs, a special type of stair for a situation like this that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars because I wasn't able to use the cheaper fold-out kind. So where you put those attic stairs, make sure you do have adequate room to unfold them. On your garage doors, a lot of builders on a home, if they have single doors, they'll have an 8-foot door. If they have a double door, they'll have a 16-foot door. The problem with the smaller door is you have to do precision driving to get your car through that 8-foot door and or to get two cars in that 16-foot door. So I would really prefer you have at least a 9-foot wide single door and an 18-foot wide double door. Now, if you want to go even wider, go for it. I love it. But at least a 9-foot wide single, 18-foot wide double door, and it needs to be drawn this way on your floor plan. Also, with these big SUVs and stuff like this, you may want to have a higher than normal door. You may want the door to be as much as 10 feet high so you can bring these larger SUVs in and out without having a problem. And this needs to be drawn on the floor plan. Also, if you want to go in and out of the garage without having to raise and lower the garage door, you need to have a door into the garage, an exterior door going into the garage. And if you want this, which I really like, it needs to be drawn on the floor plan. Most of your draftsman designers and architects will now use what we call the CAD system, which is Computer Aided Design System. The beauty of the CAD system is once they have your drawings in their computer, they can make changes and adjustments with ease. I mean, that's why I love dealing with some of the draftsman designers that I work with that use the CAD system, because they'll send me a PDF of the rough drawing and I'll tweak it. I'll email it back to them. They'll quickly make the changes, PDF it back to me, and we'll tweak it 3 or 4 times to get just what I want. And there's no real additional charge to do this tweaking if it's on the CAD system and they're not doing everything by hand. Another beauty of the CAD system is the computer automatically adds up all the dimensions so that all the dimensions are correct. And what I mean by that is when the architect or draftsman used to do it by hand, and a lot of them still do it by hand, not as many as used to be, when you added up all the individual rooms, they did not total the overall dimension. And that could create a problem. Because when you start building a home, the carpenter, for example, starts with the overall dimension, let's say 50 feet, and they begin working their way toward the center of the home, putting in the rooms. Well, if all those individual rooms do not total, let's say 50 feet, you may get toward the center of the home, and now the dining room that you thought was going to be 12 feet wide is now only 9 feet wide, and it creates a real problem for you. So if those drawings are not done by the CAD system, you need to sit down and measure each individual room and make sure the overall measurement totals the overall measurement for your home. And you want to check these measurements to make sure it is what you want. That the dining room is 12 feet wide if that's what you want. Some miscellaneous items that I really like to show on the drawings, just to avoid confusion later, are any built-in medicine cabinets that you're going to have, the location of these built-in medicine cabinets, the size and location of any and all skylights, the location and size of any laundry chutes if you're going to have a laundry chute, and you want to have the size and location of any dumbwaiters or residential elevators. I will say if you're going to go to the expense of a dumbwaiter, seriously look into a residential elevator, because for a nickel more, you can have a residential elevator, and that residential elevator is far more useful than a dumbwaiter. The next thing that you're going to want with your drawings are what we call exterior elevations. This is going to show how the front, rear, and sides of your home are designed and any little details on those areas. So yes, you want the front, rear, and side elevations. Again, you can see an example of this at 24/7. Another thing that I recommend you have is at least one section of the home. If it's a very simple design, you at least want a section of a wall section. Again, see the sample at 24/7. And this section will show the size of material you are using in that wall. Now, a section in the center of a home, it's as though you took a large meat cleaver and you sliced your home at a given point, and you are seeing what the home looks like at that section. If you're building a 2-story home, I want you to have at least one section through the stairwell where the stairs are. Because what that section will do is it will show you if you have adequate headroom to go up and down the stairs. And this will prevent that problem of during construction, they build the rough stairs and you walk down the stairs and you get hit right in the forehead because there was not enough headroom. And also on this section, if you make a change, for example, if your home was designed with 9-foot walls and you decided you now want to go to 10 or 12-foot high walls on a 2-story home, understand to increase the height of that wall, it requires more steps to cover that distance. So you want to have a revision of the section where the steps are so you don't create a problem in that when you now build the steps to cover that in additional height, they don't run out in the front door, for example. And I think you'll see what I mean when you look at the sketches at 24/7. Another thing I stress that you have is a detail or section of what we call the cornice and the rake. At 24/7, you can see what I mean by the cornice, and you can see what I mean by the rake. Now, architecturally, they call that angle up a gable the rake cornice, but we don't call it the rake cornice. We just simply call it the rake. Now, there are 1,001 ways to build the cornice and the rake, depending on the style of your home and the amount of money you're willing to spend. If you don't have a detail or section of this area, it creates a lot of confusion during construction on what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And that is not the time to make this decision. You want to make that decision now, so there's no confusion. One thing I recommend you also have, especially if you hire a draftsman or designer, you can specify all this stuff to them, is I want you to have what we call a door and window schedule. And what this is, it's a separate listing of all your exterior doors, all your interior doors, and all your windows. And what it does, it shows the indicated size of all these exterior doors and windows especially. And again, on some homes, there may be even a door schedule for the interior doors. This is going to eliminate a lot of confusion, and it will help you later.